ringside right now. Arnie Tokyo Rosenthal along with Dana Rosenblatt and Stu Taylor on Star Boxing. Coming to you tonight from Yonkers Raceway. And coming up, we got a terrific southpaw righty matchup. The southpaw, of course, being Marlon Haynes. He comes out of Washington, D.C. Aubrey Sibanyoni, the orthodox-style fighter living in New York by way of South Africa, but really feels New York's his home right now. So one more kind of rivalry we have is this East Coast Washington-New York rivalry, one that hasn't been seen since the Senators left Washington and when they played the Yankees, wouldn't you say? You see their matchup there. Haynes coming in with a 7-1-2 record. Sibanyoni 12-2, and they're making his move from the horse walk is Marlon Haynes from the D.C. area, technically out of Hyattsville, Maryland. And earlier today, he's a southpaw. We asked him, did he have trouble getting fights being a southpaw? Because that's usually the case. He had these thoughts.
Fighting as a southpaw, there's a lot of difficult things that happen as a southpaw. There's a lot of guys that want to fight a southpaw.
Well, we'll see how Sibanyoni does with it tonight, but as Haynes making his way into the ring, originally out of Guyana. Also being trained by former Olympian Charles Moody, member of the '76 Olympic team, fought up in Montreal. As we see referee Mike Ortega making his way to the ring. Now I'm sure getting ready there in the horse walk is Aubrey Sibanyoni out of South Africa with a 12-2 record. And 8 wins by way of knockout. Sibanyoni, on the other hand, what were his thoughts about having to match against the southpaw, and how did he feel about the geographic matchup? His thoughts today as well.
As a matter of fact, I'm so happy that he's a southpaw because that's what I've been looking for. And because I know that the PI guys in welterweight division, some of them are southpaws, so this is what I'm looking for. And plus, I want to learn all the styles. I want to learn all the angles. So it's kind of like a great thing for him to come in as a southpaw at this point for me. I feel like I'm representing New York like he's representing DC. And, this is my home. This is my background. I have to defend that.
All right, well, we'll see what kind of job Aubrey Sibanyoni does defending his turf. Take a look. There's Marlon Haynes in the green, and there's Sibanyoni. Sibanyoni's career started back in '92. Was undefeated in his first 6 fights, had managerial problems, took off from '93 to '96. Back on track right now. Those 2 lone losses coming in very disputed circumstances, at least according to Sibanyoni. 6-round decision loss to David Lopez and a unexplained disqualification to Candy Robertson up in Oregon in September of '99. His last fight came in March against Joe Freitag. Tough guy Freitag, winning a 6-round decision. Haynes' last fight this past April 28th, and he won a 6-round decision against Mambia Bakari. That was after he had his first professional loss against Michael McPhail. And we've given you all the information. You see the standing room crowd getting ready for this matchup, and we're going to get the official introductions from our ring announcer, Ed Darian.
Ladies and gentlemen, this next bout is scheduled for 6 rounds, and it's in the welterweight division. Our judges, Fred Yusi, Jim Pierce, and Luis Rivera. Our referee is Mike Ortega. Introducing first in the red corner, wearing the green trunks with the white trim. He tipped in at 146 1/4 pounds. This young man has 8 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws with 1 knockout. From our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., ladies and gentlemen, here is mighty Marlon Haynes. And his opponent in the blue corner, wearing the black trunks with the white trim. He too weighed in at 146 1/4 pounds. He has 12 wins, 2 losses with 8 knockouts. He is a native of South Africa and now making his home in the Big Apple of New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Aubrey Sibanyoni.
Gentlemen, want a good, keen fight, protect yourself at all times, obey my commands at all times. Touch him up, best of luck.
All right, Sibanyoni only found out about the southpaw situation with Haynes about 3 days ago, he told us. So he didn't get much southpaw sparring for this. We'll see if he does the traditional work of trying to throw the right-hand lead, Stu, left to the body, or if he just lets his jab do his talking for him.
Well, I'm thinking here, Arnie, I was about to say two contrasting aspects. One in terms of Sibanyoni, who feels tremendous ties to New York, while Marlon Haynes doesn't feel that great allegiance to Washington. He's fighting on his own. The other is Haynes, a boxer, and Sibanyoni, a puncher. And Haynes commented during the pre-fight interview that he's hoping to become a puncher, but if he can't, he can't. If it comes, it comes. We'll find out if it comes tonight.
8 knockouts for Sibanyoni, only 1 for Haynes. Haynes said he's trying to work on getting more power. We asked him specifically what he was doing. He was a little vague about that aspect, but said if it's got to be a decision, it'll be a decision. Interestingly enough, the book on Haynes was that he was a bit of a runner, and right now standing in front of Sibanyoni, somewhat taking the fight to him. We've got a classic feeling out first minute here.
Not much going on here in the center of the ring.
This is a real feeling out first minute.
Nice right hand, Sibanyoni using the jab to set up the right hand lead. Because Dana, if you haven't had enough sparring with right-handers, it's got to be really awkward to try to throw that right hand, and sometimes you feel like you're going to tip forward.
Yeah, it's very difficult for a right-hander to get in there with a southpaw and vice versa. If the southpaw hasn't consistently fought with southpaws and right-handers.
And what about the feet? They're already stepping on each other's feet.
Well, there you go. That's the main reason, is because you're consistently stepping on the lead foot of your opponent, or your opponent stepping on yours. You can't move. And, you know, these are the things that have to be worked out when you're getting in the ring with a southpaw. And Sibanyoni, you know, really is going to have to deal with these things if he wants to mount much of an offensive attack against Haynes.
And I know this crowd here tonight, standing room only, they're going to have to deal with this crowd if they don't pick things up, too. Because they've seen a lot of action this evening, and they're going to want a little bit more out of these, too.
A couple of the boo birds are being heard already.
It's a hard thing, and I think that the relative inaction so far in this first round is really due to the southpaw stance on the part of Haynes.
Sibanyoni starting to open up a little bit right now. He's landed with the right when he's thrown it, but he's been very tentative about letting it go.
A good idea for a tall guy like Sibanyoni, if he's having a difficult time with the southpaw stance, is to use the jab. The jab can be a rangefinder. A jab can be a punch that you can throw with, you know, from a relative defensive posture and not risking too much. You throw it out there quick. You kind of get a feel for where your opponent is, as Sibanyoni's doing right now, and then he could try to set him up for his bigger punches.
Other thing, Sibanyoni, very tall for this weight, almost 6 foot tall for 146 pounds. When you try to move in on him, he ties you up very well. And long arms and long body.
And that jab will also change the tone of the fight.
Well, there's the hammer, and we're going to change the tone of the first round. Very slow feeling out round. Round number 2, scheduled for 6. Aubrey Sibanyoni, he's in the black and white. Green and white from Marlon Haynes. Haynes coming out of D.C. by way of Guyana.
Seems like round 1, doesn't it?
Yeah. And Sibanyoni coming out of South Africa, now residing in New York. One feeling the rivalry, one not. Haynes been in this country 6 years. Sibanyoni a little over 8. Nice body shot by Haynes. Catches Sibanyoni's attention. Pays him back.
Opening up just a little bit maybe here in round 2.
Well, both corners in the face of both fighters saying, what are you guys doing here?
Haynes looking to establish his left hand to Sibanyoni's stomach, which is a smart move with a taller right-handed fighter coming from the southpaw, and that straight left hand comes straight in the midsection, and is a very large striking area on the part of Sibanyoni.
Both fighters a little tentative, and neither one really on target yet.
Wanting to get the punches up from Mike Ortega to Marlon Haynes. One jab's not going to do it, though, for Sibanyoni. He's got to take a second jab and take a step in, I would think, Dana.
I don't think he wants to just yet. He hasn't really established a comfort level to the point where he wants to throw those power punches, step in with his right hand. Just hasn't established that.
Sibanyoni looks a little dry, too. I wonder how well warmed up he was prior to this fight. Much better sweat breaking right now on Marlon Haynes than on Sibanyoni.
Major difference if you look at them. But it's not reflecting itself in the fact that styles make fights or styles may not make fights. And we'll see early on here if we're dealing with the latter issue.
Distance shouldn't be an issue, though. Marlon Haynes, he's been 6 rounds 3 times, 6 or more 4 times for Sibanyoni.
Some very nice evasive tactics on the part of Haynes, slipping those punches on the part of Sibanyoni, doing so very effectively.
Both fighters, though, fighting a very, very cautious fight. And there's that tie-up that you see Sibanyoni do so well. You're going to get on inside like that, he's going to tie you up.
There seems to be an invisible barrier, excuse me, Arnie, for interrupting between them, where they maintain just enough distance to continually miss those punches.
Rounds like this are very hard to score. Very hard for the judges to score. Nobody's really doing anything to establish a definitive advantage.
And do you score it then at that point on volume of punches thrown, whether they're made or not? Or do you score it on the guy who lands the one punch, but he only threw one punch?
Well, it's really a decision to make on the part of the judges.
Well, another round and another slow one in the books.
Can't get enough of Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing? Download the Star Boxing TV app or check out our Roku channel to watch exclusive content and classic fights. Every punch, every knockout, every screen. The Star Boxing TV app gives you exclusive access to every moment of Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing. Available on Apple, Android, and Roku. Just search Star Boxing to get in the ring.
Go to the criteria for judging this. There's very little punching power, so do you want to go to leadership? Do you want to go to dominance? We're not seeing it really in any category in order to make any real differentiation between the two so far after 2 rounds.
And I look at the score sheets around me, mine as well, and we both got the fight even, although, Stu, you gave the first round to Sibanyoni as I did, and the second one to Haynes, and you got a flip-flop, Dana.
I got a flip-flop.
Which gives
really,
you
yeah, I mean, really can show that a lot of the scoring is subjective, as boxing scoring is, and in fights like these, the judges may see one thing and give the round to a fighter based on that one thing.
Guys, based on these 2 rounds, this is as tough a fight as any I've had to score.
Scheduled for 6, that's Sibanyoni, black and white, green and white, Marlon Haynes. No knockdowns thus far in the fight. I don't think there's been 6 punches landed between the 2 of them. Southpaw righty matchup. Both fighters just getting their feet close enough to keep each other on the outside. Haynes seems to be a lot more aggressive, though, this round, if you can call that aggression. And once he gets inside again, there's Sibanyoni doing his patented tie-up.
I don't think Haynes wants to feel the aggression on the part of Charles Moody when he goes back to his corner at the end of this round.
Well, they're not much happier in Sibanyoni's corner. Sibanyoni's going to have to take that second step in. He's not going to be able to throw that right hand from the outside. It's just not going to land.
Yeah, there's very little to talk about here. There's very little going on in that ring. So if it seems unusually quiet, it's a struggle to make any definitive statements.
Crowd unusually quiet here too, and uncharacteristically respectful at this point for the lack of action here. Sibanyoni trying to draw Haynes in by sitting on the ropes. Doesn't make him pay, though, when he gets inside, and Mike Ortega not letting them fight an in-fight here. He's breaking them very quickly, Dana.
I think he knows that nothing's really going to be done from the inside, so he's breaking these guys, looking for a little action on the outside.
about 30 seconds to go here in the third. We're almost halfway done in this fight. And it's more like a shadow boxing warm-up at this point.
Well, it's just very difficult to break a style. It's very difficult to break habits, and neither one of these fighters are evidently that aggressive.
Nice left hook drops in by Sibanyoni. Starts to move in with the right, starting to finish strong here, and down goes Haynes.
Out of the blue that came. What a surprise.
Just when you thought things were getting quieter, Haynes having a very good third round.
I had Haynes winning this round up until this point.
Gets dropped near the end. We should hear the bell.
Well, in a six.
Charles Moody trying to revive his fighter a little bit here. Marlon Haynes never been stopped. Only has that one decision loss.
That had to be a real shocker to Haynes. Nothing was happening in that round, and all of a sudden, we're going to look at that right hand that Sibanyoni lands.
And there, that's the shot that he needed. It's the right hand that's going to do it against the southpaw. And as we mentioned, Sibanyoni only found out 3 days ago that he was fighting a southpaw. And at a point like that, if you're not used to just throwing the right hand lead, let the left go first and set it up.
Dana and Arnie in a 6-round fight, a 10-8 round is a big round, and I'd put Sibanyoni in the driver's seat here.
Oh, he most
Consequently, though, he might have lost. On some cards, he might have lost both of the first 2 rounds, so we don't know because we disagreed on them. Round 4 of a scheduled 6th round. There, Marlon Haynes on the floor at the end of the third as a perfectly timed right hand coming off a left from Aubrey Sibanyoni drops him. And just when the crowd was getting lulled to sleep and it looked like Haynes was coming in with a good round.
Nice counter on the part of Haynes. He's landed a very nice right hook, counter right hook.
Well, former Olympian Charles Moody in the corner of Haynes went wild between rounds.
Arnie, you'd think logic would say that a knockdown would produce some more aggression on the part of the fighter that landed the punch that produced a knockdown. Sibanyoni has yet to produce that aggression.
I'm from the school like you are. I think if you got a guy hurt, jump on him. On the other side of the coin, it was sort of that lull the guy into it that got him where he got to at the end of the third when he dropped Haynes.
Maybe it's a strategy.
And maybe he feels that's the way to go again. He's still not that comfortable necessarily with the southpaw style.
Looks like we're reverting a little bit back to rounds 1 and 2 here when we expected the tempo to be picked up based upon that knockdown. It's not happening.
Well, we're basically reverting to the tempo minus the last 10 seconds of the third round when the knockdown came. And that, at the end of the day, that may be the difference in this fight.
A slip by Haynes, but
right there with that
to keep his balance.
What that was is Haynes looking to come forward with a jab and stepping on the foot of Sibanyoni. Sibanyoni pulled the foot back. These are the types of things you see when southpaws fight right-handers.
And as Bruce Trampler would say, they also, famous matchmaker, top rank, under a minute to go here, would say they also make stinko fights.
Well, about a 10% knockout rate in fights for Haynes, and it doesn't look like that'll increase after this fight. Where is that punching power? Or does he just not have it?
But it's going to be an even tougher fight to call because he's in this round. Sibanyoni not taking control here after the knockdown in the third, letting Haynes back into the fight big time. And like we said, it could be conceivable, because we're seeing these rounds close, that Haynes could have won the first 2.
Arnie, I agree.
And could win the 4th.
Absolutely agree. What it did was give Sibanyoni an opportunity to take control of this fight, and he hasn't exercised that option.
Certainly let Haynes back in here as Haynes taking the 4th round. Very animated Charles Mooney trying to kick-start his Guyanan fighter. Round 5, scheduled for 6. Aubrey Sibanyoni, black and white. Green and white, Marlon Haynes. Only one knockdown in the fight. That was back in the third.
Sibanyoni landed that
a
long
good shot
right
there.
hand. It's puzzling why he doesn't go back to that and use that more frequently.
There must have been some words from both corners that were very strong, because there's a lot more action already in the first 20 seconds here than there was in the first 4 rounds, exempting the knockdown.
Haynes now trying to get into a street brawl with Sibanyoni, and that might be to Sibanyoni's favor because he's certainly the heavier punching of the two. Haynes thinking better of it right now.
Tempo slowing down again after a fast start here in this round.
Sibanyoni starting to feel comfortable with dropping that right off the left again.
He's looking for that long right hand. I think he's banking on that to be the punch that wins this fight for him.
You know, it's often a case of wanting to do something, but you just can't do it. In the case of Marlon Haynes, he'd like to exhibit some punching power, and it's been minimal.
And again, it's a very screwy fight to score. Going into this round, I got Sibanyoni up 38-37, but in rounds, totally even. Any reaction from the peanut gallery boys? I'm waiting here.
I don't want to say it all night. We've been almost in 100% agreement. I'm getting defensive here. I've got Sibanyoni up as well, 38-37.
I thought it was taking you a long time to add up the score
Oh,
sheets.
no, Arnie. I was waiting for Dana's comment, and I thought I'd jump in.
A pregnant pause.
Not exactly a mathematician. However, I do have Sibanyoni up by 1 as well.
Well, as usual, the 3 Rosen agree.
Rosen Taylor.
I still want a confirmation of the rumor that DeGuardia offered you money to change your name to Rosen Taylor. Just for the consistency here.
Sibanyoni doing more at this point. I think he's got
Nice
he's got
left
Haynes.
jab by
He's got
Sibanyoni.
Haynes aware of the longer punches. He knows that those punches can hurt him, and he's really
And what Sibanyoni does very well, one of the best things in his arsenal, is the tie-up. You get inside on him, you're not going anyplace. His arms are too long and he's too tall. That was what the Joe Fry was at his last fight with Joe Freitag, and it was like a LaMotta Robinson type of fight. But every time Freitag came bowling his way in, he got tied up. Crowd a little bit annoyed about it, but he won every round.
In this fight, again, we could see a situation where the crowd would be annoyed with the lack of action.
Oh, nice right drops in again by Sibanyoni to punctuate the end of the 5th.
Hey, boxing fans, come out for live boxing. Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing presents Rockin' Fights. For ticket information, go to starboxing.com or ticketmaster.com. See some of the best young fighters. Star Boxing, Rockin' Fights, it's a knockout.
We've got Sibanyoni up by 2.
6th and final round. Aubrey Sibanyoni, black and white, green and white. Marlon Haynes, and Sibanyoni gets rocked back there. There's only been 1 knockdown in the fight. And that's when Haynes went down in the 3rd, got saved by the bell. And now he's coming out like a man, it seems to me, that feels he needs a knockout to win this fight.
I see it in his eyes, and I see that tenseness and that dedication, but it's almost like Haynes doesn't know how to do it.
I think you can't really teach an old dog new tricks, and Haynes is the type of fighter that likes to counter, likes to be defensive, can't be offensive at a time now in this fight where he needs to be offensive.
Well, right now, though, I've got the fight 40, very close. It's 48-46 on my card,
Same
obviously
here.
unofficial going into this round. If Sibanyoni gives away this round, and things are just one other round tighter, you can wind up with a draw, or you might even go home with a loss here.
Right. Haynes fights like I used to play ping pong.
Defensive?
Very defensive.
You played ping pong defensively?
Yeah. And won.
A defensive ping
about
pong
that?
player. I've never heard of that.
We've learned new things tonight.
Well, I would say at this point, both corners must have told their fighters. If they didn't tell their fighters that they need this round to win, then they gave the wrong instruction. Sibanyoni not fighting aggressive enough here in the sixth to pull it out. And Haynes not necessarily taking advantage of the lack of aggression from Sibanyoni.
Be interesting to see how the judges score this one. Assuming it goes the distance, and it looks like it will.
A little more than a minute to go in the fight. Sibanyoni still trying to land that big right from the outside that managed to put Haynes down in the third and also rocked him again in the fifth. First two rounds, probably two of the most boring rounds we've seen in star boxing history. And things picked up in the third round. Haynes having a very good third till he got caught by Sibanyoni. Sibanyoni not taking advantage of it in the fourth, but coming back with a very strong fifth and a very lackluster sixth here as we got 40 seconds to go in the fight.
Very aerobic confrontation here. Very little contact, but lots of aerobic exercise.
Yeah, these guys are moving around. They're bouncing around. They're giving head feints and throwing jabs, but a lot of air.
Well, I see Harold Letterman sitting at ringside. He'd be explaining effective aggression to us right now.
This is
but
not,
is this effective, though?
A few boos coming right now. An attempt by both fighters, but it's just not happening.
Sibanyoni landing the shots, but is he doing enough here in the last 10 seconds to pull this round out? He's landed the shots, but the volume of punches coming from Haynes. And there you go. Both fighters raising their hands, congratulating each other's corners. Very tough last round to score. I'd be interested to see. I gave it to Sibanyoni only because he landed the more telling blows. Volume, though, certainly in favor of Haynes, but the way I had it, I pulled it out at 58-55. Aubrey Sibanyoni.
I got Sibanyoni winning at 57-56.
Giving the last round to Haynes, then?
I gave it to him, but I'll tell you, it was a tough one to score. Dana, how have you got it?
Well,
you're still adding?
58-55 Sibanyoni.
All right.
The knockdown is really the difference in this fight, and I'm fairly certain that the judges are going to see it that way.
Well, we'll see. They're taking a lot of time going over the cards right now. Sibanyoni seemed confident in his corner, knowing that they're on the road. Not the same confidence right now in the corner of Marlon Haynes. And I think, Dana, what you're saying is right. I think the 10-8 round back in round 3 where Sibanyoni dropped Haynes and is going to be the difference. But the amazing thing is Haynes was winning that round very handily after 2 lackluster rounds.
Yeah, he seemingly was winning that round. The knockdown came right at the end of the round, and usually a 10-8 round.
Right.
Remains to be seen what the judges have.
The judges could conceivably score that at 10-9.
They could.
I thought it was certainly a convincing enough knockdown as we take a look at it, back action from round 3. And it was a really good shot. And if it hadn't come at the end of the round, the outcome of the fight might have been totally different at that point.
Can't get enough of Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing? Download the Star Boxing TV app or check out our Roku channel to watch exclusive content and classic fights. Every punch, every knockout, every screen. The Star Boxing TV app gives you exclusive access to every moment of Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing. Available on Apple, Android, and Roku. Just search Star Boxing to get in the ring.
Took a lot of times, though, to add up the sheets, and I wouldn't be surprised if we hear a split decision from our ring announcer, who now has the official sheets, Ed Darien.
From Yonkers Raceway here in Yonkers, New York, I've got the scoring, and here it is. Judge Luis Rivera scores 60-54, while Judge Jim Pierce, he has it 58-55. And Judge Fred Yusi, he scores 58-56. All for the winner by unanimous decision, Aubrey Sibanyoni. Sibanyoni.
All right, a little wider than we saw it on one of the cards, 60-54.
That's a tough one to
but
figure.
One of the things we need to point out there is they didn't give Sibanyoni a 10-8 round. In that judge, he gave every round to Sibanyoni, which we didn't see it that way, but he didn't give him a 10-8 for the knockdown. 58-55, 58-56 on the other cards. More or less how we saw the fight. And Aubrey Sibanyoni will improve to 13-2. And Marlon Haynes, he'll drop down to 7-2-2. More to come. Stay with us.